PvP in Guild Wars 2 is probably the hardest game mode to get into, and become a really good player is even harder. Today, in under 10 minutes, I'm going to give you some key tips to help you get better at PvP. You may ask, why should I listen to you? Well, I may not have won a monthly AT yet, but I'm a veteran who has not only logged thousands of hours of PvP, but who has consistently placed in the top 50 on the ladder with solo queue using a variety of builds. Be sure to watch the entire video. You could be missing out on a vital tip that could save your life in the future. So without much further ado, let's dive right in. The first tip should be obvious, but it's very important because many players skip it. Read all the traits and skills, or watch a guide that explains them in detail. If you just copy and paste a build without understanding it, you will fail. Every build has built-in synergies and subtleties that you should be aware of before playing the build. Of course, you won't be an expert on a build before you play and train with it. But understanding the key mechanics of the traits and skills is important so that you know which button to press in which situation. Even or especially if you are just starting out in PvP. There are several different roles in Guild Wars 2 PvP, and I will not go into detail on how to play them here. For that, check out my video in the top right hand corner or the description. I just want to point out that it is very important to know what your role is and to stick to it. As a support, pushing into 1v1s will single-handedly lose the match. So rotate and play your chosen build the way it should be played. Understanding your role is crucial to winning a game. Each map in Guild Wars 2 Conquest PvP has 3 nodes and sometimes more objectives to contest, so understanding where to rotate and when to rotate is really important. I can't give you tips for a specific situation, but I can give you some general tips that will help. Rotate in terms of your build, so generally don't push as a duelist in a teamfight. Rather go far or close and look for 1v1s or outnumber situations. As well as looking at your build, look at your team composition. If you have a support, you will usually want to teamfight. You can force the enemy team to teamfight you if you only go for 2 nodes instead of 3. This decision alone can win you a match. Of course, if your rotations aren't working in a particular match for whatever reason, don't be afraid to change your strategy in a match. Getting better at rotation usually just takes time and practice, so don't give up. Movement in Guild Wars 2 is the most important aspect of becoming a better player in any mode. But in PvP it is the most important aspect. If you stand still, you are likely to die. So try to never stand still and move out of harm's way, but just move around to make it harder for enemies to follow you. Of course, I'm not just talking about moving around the map. In combat you need to be moving all the time too. Almost all skills can be used while running, so use them. You should also learn to cast skills while running away with the correct settings. And of course, use your about face keybind not only to land crucial skills, but also as a means of juking your opponents. There are many ways to improve your movement, so always try to get better at it and think about your position. Understanding that staying alive is key goes a long way. The reason for that is that if you die, you won't be able to influence the match for at least 20 seconds, and sometimes up to a minute with an upcoming tip. So try to survive at all costs, even if it means losing the node or sacrificing a teammate if they die in a bad spot. So don't always fight on the node to mitigate damage, but just run away if you have to. Survival is the key. Damage comes after. Fighting is a key survival skill. Leaving the node to seek shelter in the surrounding area will drastically increase your survival time. Going to no port spots, line of sight, or simply getting out of range of enemy attacks will help you heal and recover crucial cooldowns. So use kiting regularly, no matter what role you play. A good PvP player will also kite before they are under pressure and running out of cooldowns, or when they see they are outnumbered by the enemy roamer. It is very important to go kiting when you need to, and not too late, as you might just die anyway. And to make things worse, you will be dead off point, which is never something you want, as it leads us to our next point. Snowballing from kills is real in Guild Wars 2, and while you might not get more power as a build, you can gain control of the map in a way that makes it difficult for the opposing team to come back. This is especially true on maps like Battle of Kylo. To achieve this, you need to know that you can rotate after winning a teamfight and possibly getting another kill on another node. It's best to stagger your kills so that they don't all respawn at the same time and they lose even more time and points regrouping or feeding one after the other. Another important tip on the subject: let them bleed. This means not killing downstate players completely. Bleeding enemy downstates is really important to increase the amount of time and enemies out of the match. This should be done carefully to prevent them from resurrecting themselves, especially rangers. However, if done correctly, it can swing a match quite a bit, especially if you can bleed the best opposing player and keep them out of the match for a minute or so. Typically, you bleed the enemy off the point, but in some cases it makes sense to bleed them on the point as well. with you waiting there to deny the decal. Greed for kills in PvP will get you killed far more often than it will help you, so know the limits of your build and your personal skills and play accordingly. Yes, this is easier said than done, but in the end you have to learn this in order to follow the aforementioned obvious tip of not dying. Of course, you can't know exactly what build your opponents are playing, but higher ranked people tend to stick to the meta builds. So if you know what builds are currently being played and more importantly, what their strengths and weaknesses are, you will have a huge advantage against them. So every now and then I'll be on my channel telling you what builds are currently strong and how they work, so make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss out. Apart from that, if you know that your build is not going to win a 1v1 against a certain build, you should decide not to push in that 1v1 and avoid it at all costs. Only if you know that the skill difference is big enough to win, you can look for that matchup. Following on from that, every single PvP build uses a few stun break skills. So not only knowing when to use yours and not wasting it on unimportant skills can be a lifesaver in later situations. Also, and perhaps more importantly, if you know an enemy has just used the last stun break, you can almost certainly CC them to death. So keep that in mind. Also know how to CC chain and not override you or your allies CC with another, especially a weaker one. Not only hard CC but also soft CCs, such as Immobilize, can do the trick here, so learn your toolkit. I mentioned bleeding enemy players earlier, but there's another tip that relates to down management. Especially in team fights, but sometimes even in outnumbered duels, someone will go down, either a teammate, an enemy, or both. It is important to know when to stomp, when to cleave, and when to resurrect your ally. Cleaving is generally recommended these days as most builds are high damage and can deal with potential enemy hand reses. But if you have a way to guarantee a stomp, it might be the faster way. Hand reses can be risky, as pressing interact on a down team member can leave you vulnerable to cleave. So only do it if it's worth it and you have a good chance of getting the res. Otherwise, try to play it safe and survive rather than die for an ally's resurrection. In automated tournament, it is crucial to communicate with your team, but even in ranked, it is very important. This does not necessarily mean having long conversations on chat, but rather using the in-game tools to target an enemy or focus on an ally's target to help your ally kill them. Take advantage of this and even use the target function to draw attention to your allies if you need to. You can also use pings on the minimap to make your point easier, as well as drawing some nice figures if that helps get the point across. Reading enemy animations to dodge key attacks is crucial to outplay your opponent and winning the match. This applies not only to dodging attacks but also to interrupting skills, such as healing. It is also important to understand the animations of your own classes, as this can lead to you forcing your opponent to dodge strong skills. Then, by using weapon stowing, you can bait dodges into hitting key skills. There are a lot of mind games that can be played. Now you should know what you need to do to become a much better GW2 PvP player. Let me know in the comments if you have any other key tips for getting better at PvP. If you are interested in my personal favorite tip on how to approach PvP in GW2 to get better, check out this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and activate the bell for more helpful content like this. Thanks for watching and for all your support on Twitch and Patreon. Thanks Timo, hope to see you all in the next video.